Your resume has one job, getting you interviews. There is no perfect resume layout, but if you've got yourself a resume that converts to actual interviews with your dream employers and companies, then you've got yourself a perfect resume. The tricky thing is, because there's no universal perfect resume template, different hiring managers in different fields look for different things. I've now got experience working in brand management and marketing in top tier companies, so I see this a lot. Two candidates can graduate from the same university, having taken the same program and taken all the same classes. Both of them apply for the same jobs in the same companies. One of them gets a lot of interviews and eventually gets job offers, and the other one either keeps getting rejected or worse, does not even hear back. Honestly, I think it all comes back to your resume and how you present yourself. So in this video, I'm going to share lots of tips on how to create a great resume in marketing and brand management that actually impresses hiring managers and gets you through the door for that very first interview. Quick plug, if you like, you can shop my personal brand management resume from P&G. It comes with a checklist of 50 CV tips and 4 other resume templates that I created that you can basically just download and plug and play your own details into. If you're interested, it's linked in the description below. Okay, now back to the video. In order to start constructing the perfect CV, remember that you are making this for the hiring managers. So I've got 4 principles for you about the psychology behind what they are looking for. First, stop thinking of your resume as a summary recap of all your education and experiences. Hiring managers don't care about your life. Your resume is actually your pitch as to why the hiring manager should hire you versus the other candidates that are applying for that specific role that they are hiring for. You can win this pitch by highlighting your most relevant experiences and skills that tell a clear story about you and convince the hiring manager that you are the best candidate for that specific job. Remember, don't dump everything you've ever done on a piece of paper and send it out as a resume, because from their perspective, their job is to shortlist the candidates that would be the most obvious choice for the role. You are bidding for the chance to get an interview, so they need to be impressed by you. So highlight what you have to offer and what relevant value you'll bring to the table. Secondly, there is no perfect resume template. Play to your strengths. So if you have a lot to write, then choose a template that allows for more words. And if you don't have a lot to write, then choose a template that balances the white space really beautifully so that you can write about yourself without it looking like you don't have a lot of experience. Number 3, hiring managers see thousands of resumes every month and they can tell when you're being lazy. So the perfect resume is always well organized with clearly labeled sections. It has clean bullets and no redundant words to convey an overall clear and structured thinking. It is written to be scanned very quickly, so within 6 to 7 seconds, the reader can immediately place in their mind which role you would fit into based on how you've described yourself and your experiences. Finally, hiring managers are always looking for plug-and-play candidates, which they call high potential candidates. They're spending 6 seconds glancing at your CV, so unless they immediately find very relevant or transferable experiences, they're probably not going to spend that extra time imagining you in that position. Your resume needs to tell a clear story about you, and that's only going to happen if you take the time to tailor your CV based on the job. So you need to research the company and reread the job description, and then use a lot of the keywords that they're using in your resume so that the hiring manager can immediately see a lot of overlap in the keywords being used, and they're more likely to call you in for an interview because you look like a good match for the role. So in a nutshell, write a resume tailored to the job that you are applying for by highlighting the experiences and skills that would make you look like an easy fit into the role. Now let's talk about how to structure and format your resume. In general, your resume needs 5 things. First off, you have your contact details. It is also increasingly popular to add your LinkedIn profile here, but please make sure that you have a well-populated and all-star profile before you add it. Second, you have your education. The more recently you were a student, the more information you can add here. So if you graduated, say 5 years ago, all you need is your university name, the name of your program, and the year that you graduated. However, if you're a student right now or were one in the last 2 or 3 years, then you can add a little bit more detail, like maybe your core modules and any other important information. After this, you'll have your work experience. This is probably the most important part of your resume, so we'll come back to it in more detail in just a bit. You then have your award awards and leadership section. And finally, you'll end with additional information like languages, skills, and hobbies. If you're an experienced professional already into your first or second job, then you can move your experience section above the education section. If you're a student, then move the education above the experience. Basically, whatever you're doing right now should come first. Now let's come to formatting. Keep your resume to one page in most cases. The only time that your resume can be longer is if you're in academia or if you have more than 8 to 10 years of experience. Use a clean font like Times New Roman, Arial, or Calibri. Size it between 10 to 12 points. Do not go font happy by using too many styles like bold or italics. Only use them for headings so that your resume looks neat. Use white space to help direct the eyes of your reader. Margins should be at least 0.5 inches on each side. Overall, play it safe by using only basic bullets and hyphens. Other fancier bullets with shadings don't always look very professional. It's very important to stay consistent. If you used one type of bullet in one experience, then use it everywhere. If you used a certain font size in one heading, use it everywhere. Also, be aware of applicant tracking systems or ATS. This is the software that companies use to filter out the best candidates based on keyword matching. Make your resume ATS scan friendly. Use clear headings and section your content. Avoid pictures, graphs, charts, tables, and columns as they can confuse ATS. Finally, make sure your resume looks good when you save it as a PDF, and make sure that all of your formatting is being saved correctly, because PDF is usually how you would share it with recruiters or upload it to career websites. Also, name it clearly so that it's easy to identify. Now let's move on to the do's and don'ts of resume language. Resumes are a very specific kind of document with a very specific language, which is very different from essay writing or email writing. Always write in an active voice instead of a passive voice, and this is really easy to do when you start each sentence with an active verb. For example, instead of saying $5 million worth of sales were generated, you can say generated $5 million worth of sales. Resume language is professional, simple, and informative. Don't use qualifying words like outstanding or awe-inspiring. They don't belong in a resume. Instead, show that the work you did was outstanding by showing your results. Last point, don't use abbreviations and don't use slang. Now let's move on to the experience section. The experience section is the most important part of your resume, which is going to make or break your interview opportunity. So we have to get this right. Here's how you make this section on point. First, write exactly 3 bullets per experience, no more than that. Prioritize the order in which you write the 3 based on the job that you're applying for. For example, if you're applying for a brand manager role, then the first bullet should show that you met a specific sales target, or you generated a specific profit based on a target, or that you delivered a project within a specific budget. As another example, if you're applying for a role in copywriting, then the first bullet should show some experience in writing. Usually, if you've done an internship or you've worked an entry-level job, then you've probably done a lot of small tasks in that job. What you want to do is highlight the top 3 tasks in these bullets that would be most relevant to the job that you are applying for, so that the hiring manager immediately sees you as a great fit. Second, when writing, use the SAR principle. SAR stands for situation, action, and result. Construct each bullet for experience using these 3 elements to create impact, but not necessarily in the same order. For example, if you're writing an SAR, you can say, led consumer research by introducing one-on-one interviews along with surveys, which resulted in 30% increase in positive product reviews in phase 2. Second, you could write it like RSA. So increase positive customer reviews in phase 2 testing in the consumer research process by introducing one-on-one interviews along with surveys. Third, you could write it like ASR. So, introduced one-on-one interviews along with surveys in the consumer research process, which resulted in 30% increase in positive product reviews. Everything that we talked about so far covered all the basics on how to create a great resume. If you follow all the tips shared so far in this video, then you will have a solid resume tailored to a specific job that tells a clear story about you and shows your impact and value. Now let's elevate this to expert level so that you look like a pro to recruiters. Pay attention to the action words that you use to describe your experience. For example, in brand and marketing, generated is a word that we use very commonly to describe an accomplishment or a task, but engineered is usually not. If you're not sure what action words you should use, go to LinkedIn and find the senior directors in the company that you're applying for and see how they describe their experience themselves, and then use those similar words in your own resume. Also, use the correct metrics when quantifying your results. This is to show hiring managers that you understand how impact is measured for each task. For example, if you handled social media in your last role, an amateur would use metrics like likes, comments, and views views, but a pro would use metrics like engagement and community building. Second, highlight your entrepreneurial and creative skills wherever possible. Most jobs in this field are a mix between business and creativity, so highlight all hobbies, achievements, skills, and experiences that show this. If you do something in your free time, like running a blog, podcast, or social media, that's great, include it. Also, if you have a small business, you can highlight the sales and profits that you've generated. Finally, if you have any creative skills like graphic design or video editing, definitely include that. Number 3, demonstrate your exposure to market dynamics. In most brand and marketing jobs, there are certain stakeholders that you'll usually work with. So internally, this will usually be the cross-functional team, and then externally, it will usually be manufacturers, distributors, agencies, consumers, and suppliers. If you've worked with similar stakeholders previously, then you should definitely show that in your resume, because it shows that you're already comfortable in that setting. You can also show your exposure by showing that you understand the bigger market dynamics that are at play. A great SAR statement could be managed 5 integrated marketing campaigns using Facebook Ads Manager, which increased average engagement from 5% to 12%. That's a great statement, but what does that look like in the bigger picture? You're saying you increased it to 12%, but maybe the market average is 20%, so you're actually still behind. Or maybe the market average is 8%, in which case you can add 4 points ahead of the market average of 8%. Basically, you've benched this against the market, so now you look like you understand the bigger picture. Finally, take a lot of free courses and add them to your resume. If you're a fresh graduate, and to be honest, even if not, there are a lot of courses available online on Google Analytics, social media, branding. Invest some time into that, because it shows employers that you take your learning very seriously and that you like to take initiative. That's all for today. If there's one takeaway from all of this, it's that you have full control over the contents of your resume. So you might as well start highlighting everything that's great about you and everything that will bring value to the employer. I hope this helped, and I hope you start getting those interview offers. Good luck with your applications, and see you next time.